Hi, my name is Anne-Marie Campbell. Most people are familiar with various forms of discrimination, such as racism, sexism, and heterosexism. Today I'm going to talk about a form of discrimination you may not have considered before. It's called speciesism. So I'm going to start off by talking about The Twilight Zone, which is an American science fiction TV series, which was very successful. The episode I'm going to be discussing is called To Serve Man. So we are presented with the Canaanites who come to Earth, bringing with them technology to end hunger, disease, and war, seemingly asking for nothing in return. The Canaanites are very advanced creatures. They are 500 times smarter and 1,000 times more complex than humans. In fact, they're so advanced that they communicate with each other mentally rather than verbally. Trust in the Canaanites seems to be justified when government decoders crack the title of the Canaanite book, To Serve Man. So far in the episode, everything's going great. People are even starting to volunteer for trips to the Canaanites' home planet, which is portrayed as a paradise. So, in the end, as most Twilight Zone episodes go, there is a twist ending, and here we see the storyteller Michael Chambers as he finds out the book To Serve Man is actually a cookbook. He tries to escape, but fails. This might seem like a silly question at first, but let's take a moment to consider why shouldn't the Canaanites eat the humans? Humans are sentient beings who don't want to suffer or die. The key word here being sentient. Now, what is sentience? It's the ability to perceive or feel things. Sentient beings feel pain, fear violence, and are aware of the world around them. Just because humans are different than the Canaanites doesn't mean they deserve to be treated as mere commodities. Are the Canaanites justified in exploiting human beings? If you think about it, the Canaanites did not give humans any more moral significance than humans do to cows. We exploit non-human animals because we believe we are in some way better than them. But does this mother cow love her baby any less than this human mother loves hers? If you take her baby away, will she not bellow for them to return? Many people do not realize that cows, like humans, must be pregnant in order to produce milk. They are very loving mothers, pregnant for 9 months just like humans. But once their babies are born, we take them away so that we can have the milk that was meant for their calf. This horrible cycle continues every year until the cow's milk production declines, and then she is slaughtered for cheap meat. Let's go back to that word speciesism. Speciesism is unfair discrimination based on species. So an example would be that in America, it's not socially acceptable or legal in some cases to eat a dog, but it's perfectly acceptable to eat a pig. And to put this into perspective, let's think a little bit more about pigs. They are actually smarter than dogs and 3-year-old children. They can be taught how to play video games, and despite common myths, they're actually very clean animals. They prefer not to use the bathroom in the same places that they eat or sleep, and the reason why they roll around in the mud when they're outside is to help cool them down since they don't have sweat glands and to use as a natural sun protectant. Questions to ask yourself. Why do we love some species of animals, like cats and dogs, and then hurt other species of animals, like cows and chickens and pigs and fish, by inflicting suffering and death onto them? And in more general questions, are animals unique sentient individuals who, like humans, don't want to suffer or die? And this is going back to that keyword sentience. Do animals feel pain? Do they fear violence? Are they aware of their world around them? Do animals deserve to be treated as mere commodities just because they are different than us? So, a little bit about my story. I grew up eating animals, wearing animals, buying products tested on animals, going to the zoo and the circus. And this is very normal for most people. This is how we grow up. We don't question these things. Although I loved animals and would never intentionally cause them harm, I became desensitized to them and their suffering. I thought of animals just as a big group rather than a big group of individual beings. Animals are different than us, I told myself. They are here for us. And the key word here that I want to point out is the term different. All forms of discrimination use the term different to justify oppression. It's nothing more than an expression of power. The exact same kind of thinking has been used to justify all violence, including that against other humans. My journey. In high school, I decided to go vegetarian when I realized that animals care about their life just as much as I do mine. 2 years ago, I went vegan when I realized there was no difference between animal-based meat, dairy, leather, or other forms of injustice to animals. If someone had explained this to me in high school, I never would have went vegetarian. I would have went vegan. And by going vegan, I made a personal commitment to nonviolence and the abolition of all forms of exploitation. This is really important to note that veganism is not limited to non-human animals. It extends to all animals, human or not. And for example, there is still human slavery going on in the world today, and it wasn't until after I went vegan that I realized the importance of buying fair trade. Definition of veganism. Donald Watson coined the term vegan in 1944, and he defined it as a way of living that seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, and any other purpose. The essence of veganism is nonviolence and respect for all sentient beings. It is making the decision in everything we say and do to no longer participate in the exploitation of others. Here's a great quote. All forms of discrimination, racism, sexism, heterosexism, ageism, and speciesism represent violence. None of these has any place in the life of someone who values nonviolence. That quote's by Gary Francione. He started the abolitionist approach to animal rights. I highly recommend looking him up. You could read his books. He also has a blog, and he's on the social network sites. And another quote, the animals of the world exist for their own reasons. They were not made for humans any more than black people were made for whites or women for men. And that quote comes from the book The Color Purple, written by Alice Walker. Okay, so that was it, and here are some of the resources I used to create this slideshow presentation. I highly recommend checking them out if you're interested. Hopefully I didn't leave any sites out, which I might have done because there's so many great vegan sites out there, abolitionist vegan sites. And my information, I'm on Facebook and Twitter if you're interested in contacting me or following me, or if you want to talk more about this or just want to say hi, that's great. And just to end with something that Gary Francione always says, if you're not vegan, please consider going vegan. It's easy, it's better for yourself, the environment, and it's the morally right thing to do. Thanks for listening.